some of their redundant healing tools to basically reset all the work that you've put in on their precious life points. But yeah, Carriage Flow in the opening hand. You could also alternatively just get Deck of Lunacy and, you know, get the good Deck of Lunacy stuff. But in Carriage Flow is a good start for BabyBear.
Yeah, I could hear an argument for keeping Primordial Studies or even Apexis Blast, just knowing that you have your turn 2 locked up. Apexis Blast coming down early is traditionally very, very strong against Demon Hunter because they're not able to deal with singular tall minions very efficiently. But I can definitely respect BabyBear tossing that to look for card draw, as she does get to go and get some better payoff off of the Encanter's Flow. As for SYF, he did just keep the 1 Studies, which is nothing too out of the ordinary. But Il'gynoth this early is quite a problem.
Yeah, it basically means that he's not going to be able to cast a skull from the left side of his hand ever this game, which is that's a rough situation to be in. A lot of times, because of the redundancy in combo pieces, you're able to dump a lot of cards, even if you draw skull a little bit later. So it's gonna have to kind of get creative with how he draws cards this game, and it's going to be that much more difficult to piece together a combo.
I completely agree. Just the fact that Il'gynoth was in the hand prevented him from going for the turn 1 Studies, which he was kind of gearing up for, having kept 1. Just the fact that if you have any other dumpable card, you go Studies on 1, get the skull, then just move the skull to the left gradually as the turns go on, but that's not a possibility. So he's likely going to think about saving the Studies for around turn 6, or alternatively could go for it now while Spectral Sight is available. But looks like he is just going to hold on, whereas BabyBear has gone for Blood Mage Thalnos off of her Primordial Studies choice. You'd have to assume because this next turn is Encanter's Flow, and then she wanted a minion to fill out her Cram Session turn, get all the mana spent.
Yeah, draw the reduced cost cards from the deck. Like I mentioned, this matchup can, even within Encanter's Flow, can sometimes be difficult. Not in the sense that you necessarily have to make different decisions, but just in the fact that at any point the Demon Hunter can decide to just go off with a ton of healing, and then you're kind of back to square one. But there are ways to kind of set up around it where you kind of hoard all this burn damage, and then you can use like Ring Toss in between your turns to try and disrupt what the Demon Hunter is going to do, or you can just hope that they don't have the healing, or hope that it delays them long enough to where you can find even more burn damage to win the game if they have to use combo pieces in order to get it done.
Yeah, for sure. You outlined all the basic situations that Mage can think about. BabyBear's in a position where Sif has gotten, not the slowest start ever. He's developed on the board and he's started chipping away at her health total, which is also pretty relevant because this matchup tends to be a race towards the late game. If the Demon Hunter hasn't put together their combo around turn 8, turn 9, then they're very likely under counter pressure from the Mage. And when we're talking turn 8, turn 9 breakpoints without there being discounts, because this Il'gynoth is going to lock out skulls, then Sif needs to think about possibly getting a Raging Fell Screamer down sooner rather than later. And it's usually not going to be above the 24 mark, right? So being able to get BabyBear down to 24 this early means that one Aug Merchant, 2 Morgs is enough. Doesn't have to be Talented Arcanist, 2 Morgs. Every bit of mana saved is relevant, is my point. And this early on, the Skull is very difficult to activate, so I do have my eye on the Crimson Sigil Runner just to get some type of card draw going. Kurtrus' board presence.
Yeah, it's board presence, but it's not that much board presence.
I grow impatient.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong.
Grows short.
I'll long and hard about it, and when that happens, because like you said, don't think picking Skull is just going to keep getting tucked away. You're probably going to hold on to the second Illidari Studies to try and find a Skull once he gets to the turn where he can play it right away. Possibly expecting a Pexis Blast and wants to be able to have an answer to it. But then again, if a Pexis Blast was expected, then Kurtrus Ashfall may not be able to be outcasted next turn, in which case it might not even kill the minion that comes from it.
Right. I'm baffled by this. I thought the entire reasoning for picking Kerchus was to play it that turn and consolidate his board presence. As it happens, this is a size of minion where Kerchus can kill it, but the Kerchus doesn't stay alive, although he can pick this other Kerchus and use that. But at this point, I'm more interested in the card draw instead because it is a low pressure 5-drop. So the Kerchus is just going to take the 1-for-1 trade here. Very interesting approach from Sif, just valuing the ability to deal with an Apexis Blast minion that wasn't guaranteed. Like, if that had more attack on it, he could soften and then face tank, which is still a clear, but feels very, very awkward.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that one, but it ended up working out for him. He's able to push the damage. Still lacking a little bit on card draw, but does have the double jump. Still a lot of outcast cards left in the deck. There's the one Spectral Sight left. There's still Philosophy, still I-Beams. So not even close to guaranteed to hitting the skull, but could always hit it. So I can imagine that's going to be attempted to be saved until turn 7 to try and have the chance for the skull, unless his wife rips the skull right now.
But if he does, BabyBear picked the counterspell this turn and timed the ring toss for this turn because she is aware of the possibility of Skull being outcast. Good timing from her. Sif going to test for CS first with the Immolation Aura. Although he would have, of course, preferred to get rid of the mini mage, the important thing is he is getting the counterspell out of the way so that he can potentially go double jump into Skull next turn.
Yeah. And that would be a pretty big deal. Because, you know, we talk about the downsides of having Il'gynoth in the opening hand. There is an upside, and that's the fact that you always know that you'll have Il'gynoth when you need it. So a skull picked up from the double jump would mean that that's why it's just a couple combo pieces away from just being able to piece things together. Just a Moarg and a Fellscream Blast away, essentially.
That's true, but the fact that nothing is discounted means that he's at least 2 turns away from being able to put together a lethal, it looks like, if he got the Moargs in the first place. Okay, Raging Fellscreamers. So if he plays that next turn and the very next draw is Moarg, then he can get lethal. But in the meantime, BabyBear is actually just kind of losing to the weapon damage incrementally, funny enough.
May not even need much, honestly, from SYF here to push things over.
Yeah, actually, if he gets Moarg, not playable yet with the Og Merchant and Thalnos and Fellscream Blast, but Fellscreamer first, even a singular Moarg should be enough.
Actually, is really close even this turn, right? 13 damage.
Oh wait, it actually would have been lethal this turn, right? Because BabyBear's at 16 and there's a weapon equipped, so Il'gynoth, Ethereal 1 Moarg, and Fellscream is 12, and then the weapon swing phase is 4.
I grow impatient.
Wait. Il'gynoth, Ethereal, Og Merchant. I-Beam would only deal 4, and then the Fellscream Blast wouldn't be enough because it'd only hit 2 minions regardless.
Yeah,
and it
awfully close.
Yeah, very close. If there were 3 minions on the other side of the board, a hero power could be fit in with that as well. It actually would have been lethal, I think, if BabyBear had 3 minions.
But because Sif is not able to get the lethal, he must heal to get out of some points of burst from BabyBear. There's still a lot of combinations of things he's still weak to because there has been an Incanter's Full played, but just getting out of whatever break points he can to stay alive. And by maintaining the discount from the Raging Fellscreamer, if he top decks Moarg next turn, he's able to play 2 Moargs and an I-Beam, which even if this board gets cleared, is 12 damage, plus the swing is 16. So he still has a lethal out, barring Ice Barrier and Counterspell played. And so this ring toss is actually very valuable for BabyBear. I imagine she also wants to fit in Devolving Missiles on the Thalnos somehow to deny the card draw, but it's really hard to isolate the Thalnos at the moment.
Yeah. unless you want to throw burn damage at it. But I guess she's fine with him just taking the card draw.
Yeah, as long as she gets to fit in her ring toss, which is uncorrupted, but it gives her a chance at disruption. She couldn't have it both ways, right? Had to either be clear the board or devolve the board.
Yeah.
Oh, but not going for ring toss this turn. BabyBear is playing with fire. Not Morg, though.
Oh!
It's so close.
That's
Just
pretty...
like 9 damage. 12 damage with the weapon swing and hero power, but just nothing doing here. If it's not lethal, then BabyBear wins if he puts the Il'gynoth out too early. And so BabyBear can now corrupt her ring toss with the Apexis Blast. Or just find lethal, potentially?
I don't think there'd be enough... Oh, yeah, if... No, that wouldn't have been enough mana, right?
Well, it depends.
Oh yeah, if Rundor found
Rune
Fireball.
Orb.
Yeah, if Rundor found Fireball, yeah. I was thinking like +2 spell damage breakpoints, but there wouldn't have been enough. Could just keep it simple and go... Well, I guess you would have Rundor first in that situation. I don't know. Could go Lab Partner, Rundorp, see what happens. If nothing good, then can go Apexis Blast and Ring Toss.
Yeah, in that case, I was gonna say maybe you don't even put a minion on board to potentially deny targets for Fell Scream / I-Beam, but if you are gonna Apexis Blast, there's gonna be a minion on board anyway, and she needs to play Apexis in order to corrupt the Ring Toss, so I'm fine with this. Looking for Counterspell, even Ice Barrier is somewhat relevant at this point. Okay, those are the exact two I talked about.
Yeah, there you go. Anything that deals damage, or can draw things that deal damage.
You think she may have roped out on the choice there because Refreshing Spring Water is almost strictly better than Arcane Intellect at this point, but it's more about just getting lethal and surviving this one turn, which currently she is not dead.
Like how you played it safe and said, almost strictly better. Yeah. Well, that's a brave game to play, strictly better. You never win that game.
Indeed. 6 points of healing for Sif. Honestly, not out of range of Mask of Cthulhu if the Talented Arcanist gets dealt with, and we can see from BabyBear she can deal with it and play Mask, but has she played both?
I don't think so. I realized casting Masters Tour that I rely on the deck tracker way too much during Grandmasters because
me too.
when we don't have it in the non-main matches for Masters Tours, it hurts.
It really does. If agonizing at the end there if he wanted to play around Ice Barrier or not. He doesn't attack, but BabyBear actually took rigged fair game there, which means she almost certainly hits lethal, and there it is, the double fireballs closing out the game. That was honestly a lot closer than I thought it would be given Sif's abysmal opening draw, but somehow that incremental damage from the 2-1 played and then the weapon swings put BabyBear within a range where she was dead to a Moarg top deck for several turns.
Yeah, it ended up making it so SYF didn't have that many breakpoints to think about, but wasn't able to find it at the end, had to use a lot of the healing just to kind of play around the burst range from BabyBear. Wasn't able to get it done, and that's a pretty big win. Now up 2-0, and that's not the easiest matchup in the world. Well, I mean, not talking from a play standpoint, you kind of just throw your burn at the face. Obviously, it's not that simple, but as far as like getting a win, just the matchup in general. So a nice win for BabyBear.
Yeah, for real. Honestly, this is almost an exact replay of how it started to pan out between Kranich and Language Hacker a while ago, where the lineup from Kranich and BabyBear is targeting Priest, but it's not to say that all the decks can't win against other matchups. And just as Kranich did a while ago, he got a win with the Mage versus the Demon Hunter, the OTK Demon Hunter on the other side. But now for BabyBear, the real test is this aggro elemental shaman, which we have talked about is kind of double dipping from the two viable archetypes of shaman at the moment. And for me, the strangest part of this deck is the fact that the weapons are a little bit of both. She has 2 Doom Hammers and 1 Whack-A-Null Hammer, but it means that Cage Match Custodian is not guaranteed to get the one you want at any specific point, which it often feels like you really, really want Doom Hammer when you're trying to beat up on Priest. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of role the Whack-A-Null Hammer will have.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, maybe it's not a downside because it's always a surprise.
True. Don't give them the info.
Ooh, which weapon am I going to get? Because a lot of times it's just boring. You just always, you know, sometimes I'm just really tired of getting Doomhammer. So I just want to spice things up a bit. Put 1 Whack-A-Null Hammer in there and see what happens, you know?
Just like Control Warrior, right? They run 2 Outriders and 1 Bulwark. It works for them, so you can do that in Shaman. Why not?
Yep. Yep.
Jokes aside, though, the rest of BabyBear's deck is relying on the Elemental Synergy. The 2/5 that gets Wind Fury is pretty powerful. The Lily Pad Lurker in particular, quite good against Priest if they are running the N'Zoth package just as an easy answer to Light Shower Elemental. Personally, I have a bit more faith in Kranich's build that is more streamlined and runs a cheaper answer in Devolving Missiles. But BabyBear's build does have its benefits in terms of getting more board presence still.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes that can be more important, getting chip damage with the other stuff. Oh, that's a curve right there.
What's the best way to go about it? Obviously, the Wailing gets the best scaling done. I'm talking like it's a Battlegrounds game because it gets more attack on it, but the Kindling Elemental allows for Arid Stormer the very next turn, right? And in terms of immediate damage push, the Wind Fury on that pretty much outweighs the attack you gain from playing Wailing Vapor first. So I like that BabyBear starts with the Kindling Elemental. 5 health on the Stormer is very tough for a Demon Hunter to deal with this early.
Yes, it is. I said earlier, they struggle to deal with just singular big things. And 5 gets it out of range. Gets it out of range of at least some of that early game stuff. Whereas 3 can be dealt with quite easily. It's better to go very fast than to try and play for the most efficient way to play out your curve.
As for Sif, I think he definitely has to respect this, dealing 4 every turn. And so I'm kind of looking at Coin Eldraki this turn to set up for a Throwglaves type clear on the next turn. Alternatively, he could just go for 1 Throwglaive on the 1/2 here, which puts his I-Beam into 1 cost position, so he can use that with Eldraki to deal with the 2/5 next turn. But it feels like kind of a, I guess, a frivolous usage of the Throwglaive, but you can make the argument that they're not playing that many minions to begin with.
Yeah, he could like hold on to it next turn and then go like clear it next turn with the I-Beam. Throwglaive, I-Beam, Throwglaive.
Yeah, that definitely works
the
too.
Arid Stormer.
Gets to hold on to the coin as well.
Yeah. Floats a mana in this position, I guess, which is the downside. You could tell he was trying to think of a more efficient play, but couldn't. Towards the end. But this works.
Not going to be able to get rid of the Primal Dungeoneer, though, unless he does expend the coin. Which is probably not a big deal. It's not pushing a lot of damage immediately. The main threat here is the Arid Stormer. And he gets to preserve the coin in case Skull will be coming off the top anytime soon, because next turn looks like it's just Eldraki hero power. But meanwhile, for BabyBear, the Marsh spawn is not an auto-include in a lot of these lists because I find that a lot of players actually find it difficult to activate on curve because you're generally preferring to play minions before you play Marsh spawn, right? In this early part of the game, you want to be curving out, and so the spell activation is not necessarily guaranteed. TJ, the surprise is it's Doomhammer this time.
What is it going to be? Just looking at that situation, that would feel pretty bad if that wasn't Doomhammer.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
Maybe I don't like the surprise.
Demons?
Not a fan of surprises?
I thought I might for a moment, and then the situation actually happened where I was like, "Ooh, this is a surprise. This is a surprise. I don't know what's going to happen." And then I had that moment of dread where I said, "This may not be a Doomhammer," and that brief moment of fear
Demons.
scared me a little bit.
Scared me
No
too.
surprises.
But it's going to be scaring Sif even more, you'd have to imagine. Oh, not going for the hero power here so he can fit in the philosophy. Still holding onto the coin for that possibility of top deck Skull to be playable immediately. It means that there is the possibility of him taking more damage from the buffs on the Wailing thing. Oh, still don't know the name of it. But he is expecting... Yes, thank you. He is expecting Doomhammer though, so that's why he was maybe saying, I don't need to remove the Wailing Vapor immediately. And BabyBear is just going to go ahead and equip that. She has Storm Strike to buff next turn. Oh, that's huge though.
Huge, but still scary nonetheless. Doomhammer with 6 charges left, but it does have some healing to be able to bounce back up.
I mean, he can use both Moargs here because this is just one Moarg and a Philosophy used, so he can heal all the way back up and clear the board and end up ahead with 2 Moargs, which is, you know, admittedly kind of a fragile board state because BabyBear is running 1 copy of Dunk Tank, which pretty much immediately clears Moargs if they're left on board. That's the punish. But getting that health reset buys him so much time.
Yeah, which is what he needs. Does have a Spectral Sight on the left. Still no Skull, though. No double jump. No Illidari studies. Nothing to try and find it. That's the biggest thing, because even though that play buys him time, that time can dwindle very quickly when it comes to Doomhammer, especially with Diligent Note Taker, Storm Strike already in hand. Means that BabyBear can stumble upon some incredible burst over the next few turns.
Sif choosing to use the left-hand I-beam because he wants his Spectral Sight in outcast position. It does mean the right-hand I-beam potentially costs a lot more, but I think this is smart from him, recognizing that with this time he's bought, he can't afford to just be drawing 1 card a turn. He needs to make something impactful with this health total because it's not permanent. Like you said, 6 charges on the Doomhammer can negate that healing very, very quickly. But for now, BabyBear has to worry about the Moargs. She doesn't have an answer that she wants to spend on minions, right? Yes, Storm Strike, but then the other Moarg still needs to eat some pieces of burn that she would rather be sending to the face.
Yeah. Ugh.
Guff?
Oh?
There's a lot of nature spells. Okay.
Yeah, but it's other minions, right?
Yeah. Potentially the Marsh spawns next turn.
Okay. So there's potential, but not the most potential.
Because the Guff doesn't buff itself, I'm a bit surprised to have seen the Lightning Bolt used there as opposed to, say, double face tanking a Moarg. I think the Lightning Bolt might have a bit more utility a bit later on. And the Overload is somewhat relevant here because she can't play both Marsh Spawn and Storm Strike right now.
Yeah, this is a little
Can
awkward.
go Note Taker Storm Strike?
Yeah, but where you just leave the a 4-1 up, or what happens there? But
You either
that's-
trade the guff
doesn't
into
run
it or just leave it up. I don't think BabyBear can afford to be worried about breakpoints here. She's just concerned with killing Sif as efficiently as possible. And to me, that spells get more Storm Strikes because those double up your Doomhammer damage.
Yeah.
Gonna go for a Marsh spawn though. Serpent Shrine Portal's pretty good. Concerned about the lack of charges on the Doomhammer by this point.
It's okay, she's got a whack-a-mole hammer. Yeah, with Diligent Note Taker Stormstrike in hand, I actually wouldn't have been surprised if she just held on to the weapon swings just to kind of be efficient with damage and not have to rely on another Doomhammer off the top. But I guess that's where the Whack-a-Mole Hammer comes in, even though it may not be as much damage. It just keeps allowing her to push consistent damage each and every turn instead of trying to rely on big burst.
To be fair, she does
I
have 8
grow
mana next turn, so she can go for Note Taker and both the Storm Strikes all at once, which would use all the Doomhammer charges while you have Storm Strike, which is the most efficient usage of it. And then she has Serpent trying to follow up. The whole problem has just been this 4/4 has been kind of a headache to make sure that she doesn't actually get full minion damage alongside it. And Sif has, I guess, Immolation Aura if he wants to use that to deal with these minions. Not the cleanest though.
No, not at all.
Time grows short.
Oh, okay. I thought this was going to be a couple of trades, but 24, I guess, is an important number to get the Shaman down to.
Yeah, I like the face attack. I was thinking that it might even be the 4/4 to the face as well, because it looks like he's just going to Immolation Aura everything. But if he's not going to Immolation Aura that turn, then he has to remove some damage because BabyBear still has a couple more charges of Doomhammer. And I do believe she should cash in on as many Storm Strikes as possible this turn while she has that Wind Fury available.
Yep, probably throw it on the Healing Totem as well. And a lot of damage to follow it up.
19 to the face. And Sif only has this I-Beam right now for healing, whereas BabyBear has Serpent Shrine Whack-a-Mole for 6 points of damage in hand, not even counting the board. Yeah, this is awkward.
Yeah, there's just nothing here. If Sif wants to heal, has to part ways with the
Demons?
I-Beam, and it probably means just kind of has to go all in. I mean, what range of burst is even worth playing around in this scenario? That's the difficult part.
Yeah, that is very difficult to parse because there's still second Doomhammer to account for. There's a generated spell. He is just going for the maximum amount of healing that also allows him to fully clear the board, because that was actually a super awkward board state where if he wanted to put the spell damage from the Augmentation on his own minion, it would have to mean he either uses both Immolation Auras or face tanks the 2/1 Diligent Note Taker, which kind of negates the extra healing he would have gotten anyway. So I do think this was the ideal way to have gone about it. It looks like a gross overcommittal of resources, but it's just what has to be done here. Just hope he gets Skull off the top or something like that to survive.
Yeah, looking for a miracle. And probably start with Marsh Spawn here, see if she can discover just any type of direct damage.
Probably just Torrent because it's cheap. I don't know.
I guess.
Oh, Tidal Wave. Wow. Okay.
That's the one I expected the least.
Name, to be honest. But, you know, it's a way to clear whatever is left of Sif's board and maybe get her out of some breakpoints, because Sif has used a lot of spells that can be used with Il'gynoth.
Okay.
Okay.
Go off the top.
That was my TJ impression.
Oh!
Right on time there.
Saying one of the most common words in the English language.
At the same time as you.
Blamed.
With the same intonation.
Yep. The standard intonation as well when you're surprised by something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
formulaic.
you have a very neutral
I'll admit
speech
it.
pattern.
I do.
Okay, well, Sif just needs to survive this turn and hope to top deck another Moarg and also a Fell Scream Blast, which really does not feel all that feasible. The double jump could still get him. He's played both Spectral Sights, right?
Time grows short.
Yeah, probably get him a Philosophy. No, there's been one Philosophy play as well.
I'm gonna go digging with the Thalnos right now. Yeah, I agree. He has to get more than a single top deck to win this game. And if he does get Fell Scream Blast, it's only 12 damage, so it's still not it.
Yikes.
Oh, GG. Oh wait, no, it's one off.
One off.
But Fireheart can maybe do something?
Never be afraid.
Like, she can still play Inara if it completely misses.
Yeah. Oh! No. Not Wind Fury. Storm Strike's not lethal.
It isn't. Awfully
Well, but-
close though.
She can pick Storm Strike, and then as long as she doesn't overload, next turn she can go Inara and then Storm Strike a Totem. But then the Fireheart chain stops there, so it just needs to go for it this turn, just cashing on the damage.
Lightning Bolt! That's it!
Oh, there it is.
Fireheart gave her one more shot before she died, and that was absolutely what BabyBear needed. Even another, like... Oh wait, I didn't know that the Fireheart train continues even after Fireheart dies. PIL.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Doesn't usually happen. But I guess it did.
Well, BabyBear clearly knew. Even though she didn't need that last Lightning Bolt, she knew that she would have like a couple more shots. Let's say the first Discover after the Storm Strike was a Primordial Study. She could have played that and then looked for Lightning Bolt. Learning something new every day.
Yeah, that's right. But this isn't. I don't think this is a target OTK Demon Hunter lineup. Actually, you know what? It might be. I think that's one of Death Rattle Demon Hunter's best matchups. Is the OTK Demon Hunter, because they can never get through all the waves of threats. They can't have that definitive clear that OTK Demon Hunter needs to buy themselves that time to like play Skull Gul'dan, and has the mix of damage from hand. So very interesting lineup for BabyBear, and it looks like it's paying off. Even though this she's not 4-0, 3-1, still a great position. She can win the last round of the day.